So this week we talked about digital literacy and what it means to be digitally literate. I think we kind of, in our in-class discussion on Tuesday, steered into only making about like how to use technology, when really it's about how to use the programs and the medias with the technology and stuff like that. One big thing we talked about too is also the difference with digital literacy when it comes to the generations and how it is going to affect us in the future. I do feel like there is a gap between generations. But then again, like, people from from like my mom's generation created the iPhone. And, people from my brother's generation created social media. My brothers are a little bit older than me. They're about 10 to 15 years older than me. And, so it's not necessarily a generational thing. I think it's just there was a point where as time progressed, people progressed along with it. Whether it was English, like the language of writing and reading, being literate in those subjects, as well as, progression with like cars or TVs. But more recently, when it comes to technologies and different medias and programs, it has just skyrocketed. And if you weren't brought up with just that, it's harder for you to understand them. Like my mom, it is so easy for me to, if not learn right off the bat, I know how to figure out how to work a smart TV. I can read the manual, but nobody reads manuals anymore. So I would just go on my phone and look it up on Google on how to set it up. My mom, on the other hand, she gets frustrated and she just at some point just gives up. And, I find that more frequent in older generations. And I feel like going forward, if we don't teach them and teach anybody what it means to be digitally literate, as far as, being able to use, Microsoft Office or Adobe creative offices and technologies like a computer or a smart TV or a phone, like at some point the gap is just going to keep growing bigger because technology and media is evolving at a very fast pace. And it's not just, oh, they're older, they're from an old generation, they don't understand, or it's mainly like they have to want to understand, because my mom, like, she doesn't even want to understand. She doesn't care. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and she just, gives up at that point. But she is starting to come around, especially with her phones and stuff like that, on being patient and how to use them, how to use Facebook. She loves Facebook Live, so teaching her the cool effects with that. She's starting to become more open, and I feel like as time goes on, people won't want to be left behind, and they'll become more open. One more important thing we talked about was access. And a lot of people, to be digitally literate, you have to have access. And we did say that even if you have access, that doesn't mean you're automatically digitally literate. Because like my mom, she has a smart TV, she has a laptop, she has a phone, she has all this stuff, and she doesn't know how to use it to save her life. But, I think what we should do is, as a country, especially since technology and medias are being more, have a bigger presence in education as well as jobs. Like, we need to make sure people that are less fortunate, speaking about America, like the United States specifically, because there's such a gap between kids from South Phoenix and kids from North Scottsdale. Kids from North Scottsdale know how to do all this stuff, know how to be creative, know how to do this. Kids from South Phoenix necessarily don't, and that just is something we really have to work on. And, yeah. What else did we talk about? We talked about that, and we talked about something else. Oh, is Google making us stupid?